Most people in narcissistic relationships, they don't even realize what's happening until they've already lost themselves.
Yes.
And today I want us to have a conversation where we're going to go into exactly what happens step by step, right? So I'm very happy to have Joy Dennis with me. She's a narcissistic abuse recovery coach, and she's passionate about helping people heal and to find themselves.
Yes.
So I just want you to let us know, Joy, what is something that you experienced that you did not even realize was abuse at the time?
Yeah, first, I just want to say, thank you for having me, and it's truly a pleasure. I guess actually quite a bit as far as abuse. I guess gaslighting would be one. Just
Mm-hmm.
basically where the abuser is making the victim doubt their reality, question their judgment, question their intuition, make it seem like they're crazy, and just the put downs, the verbal abuse, the arguing and fighting and bullying, that kind of stuff, just put downs and things like that. So yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah,
Thank you for sharing that because I
definitely.
really want the people listening in right now to check themselves and then list if you've ever felt like you're being bullied, like you're gaslit, you over explain yourself, because these subtle signs are the hallmarks that could
Yes.
probably save our lives later, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. And later, I want you to talk about why living feels impossible. Just place it somewhere at the back of your mind. We're gonna go there, but could you kind of go deeper into some of the signs that people dismiss?
As far as, yeah, the abuse, I would just say, yeah, like making them like the abuser will make them doubt themselves. They are controlling. They're very
Mm-hmm.
controlling about like who they talk to, their friendships. Sometimes they're controlling with what they wear, how they looked. And also, as far as like resources, finances, some abusers can manipulate their finances and things like that. What else? Gossiping and, the whole triangulation, putting other people against the victim to try to, get them to succumb to their demands, their needs and their wants. That's pretty much smear campaign, that's, trying to make the victim feel bad about, maybe not wanting to go along with the abuser's wants. Let's say the abuser wants the victim to, I don't know, just be like them, or they like, let's say the abuser is a narcissistic parent, and let's say that victim wants to move out, wants to, explore their life and see the possibilities. So sometimes the abuser will be like, "No, daughter, don't move out. You should stay in." And if
Mm-hmm.
the daughter is super like persistent, then the abuser will be like, "Oh, well," putting fear, guilt, and obligation on that
Mm-hmm.
particular victim to try to make them stay and not live their life. And I would say another thing is love bombing. Love bombing
Mm-hmm.
is some things that maybe we don't see. That could be like in the romantic side, like in the beginning when you're, getting to know that person. It's okay to want to impress someone, you know?
Huh?
It's
Yeah,
okay
yeah.
to want to like,
Who
you
doesn't
know,
want to be impressed, you know?
yeah, you wanna be impressed, you wanna
Huh?
put on a good, look and a good, impression or whatever the case may be, but sometimes when you're dealing with a manipulator, they
Mm-hmm.
will put all the love on you, give you all this attention, give you all this, this kind of feeling that you've never felt before, and then
Mm-hmm.
eventually it goes away because later on down the line, the narcissist can see like, "Okay, I got them now. I got them to fall in love. They believe me. And so now I could really be myself. I can, start putting them down, right? I could start abusing them. I could start manipulating them. I could start controlling them. I could start to gaslight them and ignore them, give them the silent treatment, things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just I can also get them codependent on me as well, meaning like in order for them to live their life, in order for them to quote unquote make it or to just be okay, they have to come to me for everything. They have to come to me to make decisions. They have
Mm-hmm.
to come to me in order to be okay. But before they do anything, before they can be feeling okay, they have to come to me. Like the narcissist will get a victim to be dependent on them in that way. And I'm only saying that because that was me. I didn't
Okay.
realize that that was happening at the time. And another thing,
Mm,
Judy, I would say some things we might ignore is isolation. Sometimes your abuser will get you isolated from people like family, certain friends. Let's say if it's a romantic situation. And
mhm,
especially if the narcissist knows you have people around you that actually care, that could care about how they're being treated, whether if it's good or bad or whatever the case may be, the narcissist
mhm.
does not want, their victim to be around, strong-minded people or people that will have great boundaries, that will assert themselves because eventually the narcissist knows that that particular person's family and friends could convince them to leave the narcissist alone. So that's why the narcissist likes to isolate the victim
Wow, Joy, I
quite a
am,
bit. I know.
yeah, I am so happy that you've shared
Yes,
all of that because
definitely.
in my Unmasking Abuse series, I actually did go into an episode where I spoke about the hidden signs of abuse, and
Yes.
it captured everything that you've shared. And one thing is coming to my mind right now. Number one, does a narcissist know that they're a narcissist? Do they know what they're doing, and are they doing it intentionally? And number two, you have said that you have been in a relationship with a narcissist. I
Mhm.
have been in a relationship. I wouldn't diagnose him as a narcissist, but I've been in an abusive relationship. And we know that both me and you, we are strong, amazing, beautiful women. How did we end up in these situations?
No, those are
Please.
yes, no, that's great questions. Well, first, yes, the narcissist absolutely knows what they're doing. They're not stupid. And a lot of times people might think they're super intelligent just because, they have high status for some. The narcissist
Hmm.
that I've dealt with, the male narc, he had high status. My auntie that I lived with for 5 years, she had a great career, picket fence, husband, kids. She had all of that, but she was miserable, right? And she was an abuser. And she also was excuse me, she was an adult bully, basically.
Okay.
But she
Okay.
was extremely insecure, extremely jealous, extremely passive aggressive, condescending, and she knew exactly what she was doing. So there was no mistake about it. There's no questioning that. So my auntie and the male narc absolutely knew what they were doing. Now, how did we find ourselves in these relationships? A great question, right? No, and I want to make a video about that because I truly think that that's a good one.
Okay.
I feel like abuse or life experiences doesn't have, any boundaries. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what you look like. You may or may not find yourself in that type of relationship. And a lot of the times it
Hmm.
has a lot to do with our childhood for some. It could have something to do with like how we grew up, our parenting, maybe what we associate with love, maybe what we associate as familiarity, what's
Hmm.
comfortable, like our self worth, our self esteem, what we feel like we deserve. Do we feel valued? Do we respect ourselves? Do we love ourselves? Because I can look back and
Hmm.
say, I can admit that I did not love myself years ago. I did not. I can admit that. And I tell people that every day. And I
Hmm.
value being transparent with like my clients and the people that I help because I feel like that, people can relate to honesty, even though
Yes.
it might be uncomfortable, right? The truth hurts,
Yes.
but yeah,
Yes.
I could say that I did not love myself. I had low self-esteem. I was bullied at a young age. People would tease me about different things. And I just feel like sometimes the narcissist can pick up on that, or
Hmm.
abusive people can pick up on that. And they will use that against you and they will feed on your need to feel loved, maybe your need to feel validated, your need to feel
Hmm.
accepted and approved. And they'll take advantage of that. And you might find yourself in that type of predicament. Or it could be a case where like maybe you want to fix a person. Maybe you feel like, okay, yeah, that maybe they're dealing with this addiction. Maybe they're dealing with
Hmm.
these struggles, these challenges, maybe traumas from that other
Hmm.
person. And you feel like, I want to fix them. I want to make them a better person. So it's like,
Hmm.
you might take on that caretaking role. Maybe you have that need to be a caretaker or to fixer upper. And it's just recognizing, like, people can fix themselves. You don't have to step in unless they ask. If they actually be like,
Mhm.
okay. And if they're actively helping themselves, but not just stepping in and saying, hey, you know what? I don't like who you are. Let's change you into a different person. It's like accept people as they are. And so that's how sometimes we can find ourselves in those type of situations.
Wow, that is such a powerful statement because
Definitely.
I feel like it's very important that even as we focus on exposing what narcissists do and putting that information out there, I feel it's very important as well to turn inwards and ask yourself, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And like we said, it's not an easy conversation to have. I know
Mhm.
that I went through a lot of tears during that season of what was really going on with me and how did I end up here. And some of the things you have highlighted actually came to the forefront as well. And let's talk a bit about self-love. I want us to
Yes.
explore self-love and I want us to explore childhood trauma or
Yes.
childhood experiences, however we can call it, and how that plays a role in how we show up in our lives as adults.
Yeah, I feel like self-love is truly something that most people are starting to kind of get a better understanding, but still not really. Self-love to me is just like really just showing yourself compassion, care,
Mm-hmm.
acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
and validation, and just when you deeply care about yourself, and you cherish your life, you value yourself, and you respect yourself. That to me is self-love. And also it's like active activities that you do every day for yourself. It's like, okay, let me go for a walk, let me have a nice breakfast, let me do some yoga or something, or let me go to the gym, let me get my
Huh?
hair done, let me get my
Okay.
nails done, or let me do it myself. Let me
Mm-hmm.
it could also be let me learn a new skill. Let me learn about finances. Let me read a book or something. Let me
Uh-huh.
learn how to budget better so I can manage my spending. Like that to me is self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Doing and being and looking yourself in the mirror and just saying positive words to yourself, because I mean, I'm around a lot of people quite often, and some of my clients too, we have our sessions, and sometimes I hear them saying things, and I'm not gonna mention names, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they have a negative self-talk. And I
Huh.
get that because that was me too. I used to talk so bad about myself, like to
Mm-hmm.
myself, like there's
To
no one
yourself.
around, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
Yes.
I would beat myself up so bad due to like the abuse that I experienced, the bullying, the different things, like the situations and the circumstances that I was in where I thought I should
Mm-hmm.
have been in life. And it's just like, it's okay. We have to really be, like I said, be compassionate, be understanding. Just how we're like that to others, we have to do that to
Be like
ourselves.
to ourselves.
Yes,
Exactly.
and I feel like
Exactly.
we don't do that, and like I said, sometimes we might end up in relationships reflecting the lack of self-love that we have of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the times when we don't love ourselves, because most of us, not all, but a lot of us don't, and I'm just being honest, right?
No,
And
that is the
yeah.
honest truth, girl. And do not beg for
Yeah,
anything. Yeah,
yeah.
just say it the way it is. Because yes, it's difficult to hear, but it is actually what starts you or gets you into that question where you go to that question. How did I get here? You know?
Yes, and so
Uh-huh.
it's like so when we don't love ourselves, we will be with someone that's a reflection of that. So that person, again, they'll mistreat us, they'll lie to us, they'll manipulate us, they'll betray us, because it's like we betray ourselves, or they'll disappoint us because we disappointing ourselves. I had to look at myself too and acknowledge that, and it was hurtful. I grieved, that for years, like understanding like sometimes I did
Mhm.
betray myself, or I let myself down by not realizing my value, my worth. And I also noted that sometimes when people did try to come in my life and they treated me so kind and nice, I would push them away because I would, yeah, it's crazy. It's like, wait, yeah, because I wasn't used to it. But it's like now I can be like, I love myself now,
Uh-huh.
and it took years to get there.
Yes.
But then on the other aspect, as far as the childhood traumas and the childhood situations, for me, what's helped me overcome that, and I help people with this too, because it's really deep. It goes back to like again when you were
Mhm.
vulnerable and the people around you you thought had your best interests, some of them did not. And it's hurtful, you know?
You're
The
saying it. You're saying it.
you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And the thing is, it's not about blaming our parents per se, even though, I mean, they have a huge role in that, but we're adults now. So adults take responsibilities for their lives, right?
Mhm.
And so now it's just about kind of reconciling that and holding yourself accountable. But also, if you need to have a conversation with your parents, I highly recommend that. I did that personally and it did
Okay.
help, you know, but sometimes you might have to love your parents from a distance because maybe you realized you picked up some behavior patterns
Huh?
that just was not the best, whether it was like the way you love, the way you communicate,
Mhm.
the way you show up in the world. It maybe
Mhm.
just was not ideal for you. And now you want to learn some new behavior patterns. So you have to be
Mhm.
around new people or learn some new skills, basically.
Wow, Joy, thank you so much for sharing
You're
that.
welcome.
And like you
Definitely.
say, I literally feel like the 1 hour allocated is not enough because there's so many places I want to go. You see, but
Yeah.
I'm really centering myself, and I'll go into a few words that you've mentioned. And these words are being used a lot, especially right now. First, let me say that I like to root this podcast in faith. And there's something you said there that was very important. You said that you were negative talking to yourself, not even necessarily, first of all, people outside, but just to yourself. And the good book tells us that as a man thinketh, so he is, you know?
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
And so these thoughts that you consistently say to yourself actually now form who you are as a person. And then you now, that's the person you display or put out there. And without knowing it, you end up picking people who
A
end up
reflection of
betraying
that.
you. Yes, the reflection of
Exactly.
that. And it's such a painful realization.
So painful. It
Yeah,
really
it's such a
is.
painful realization, but such a needed realization.
Definitely.
So everybody is throwing these words around right now. So we have the love bombing and we
Yes.
have gaslighting. And
Yes.
just in simple terms, just explain
Yeah.
to us what that is.
Yeah, love bombing is just pretty much a person that's putting on like a show, I would say, to gain your interest and to gain your attention so that way they can eventually use it to, like keep you stuck in a relationship or
Mm-hmm.
manipulate your behavior so that way eventually you won't leave them. I would just say it's a tactic used by abusers that are trying to, look for their next victim. That's what I would say. But they're doing it in a charming, charismatic way. That's what I would
Okay.
say. Yes, that's
Okay.
love bombing. Now, gaslighting is a thing where abusers use this towards their victims where they will make you doubt your reality, make you question your judgment. And they do this because the narcissist knows that, especially male narcissists use this with with their female victims, and female narcissists can do this too. But
Mm-hmm.
they know that you have an intuition, you
Mm-hmm.
have a gut feeling that's telling you like, "Hey, this is not right. I shouldn't be doing this. I should leave.
Mm-hmm.
This is not
Mm-hmm.
correct?"
Mm-hmm.
So, the whole gaslighting, the narcissist likes to do it just with, like, simple stuff. Just, like, they make you question, like, "Oh, did I just say this? Did I just do this?" And they'll be like, "No, you didn't do it." And they will have a straight
Mm-hmm.
look on their face, like, "You're crazy." Like, they're the ones that's like, "Oh,
I
yeah,
know.
and it's just like, wow, like, they're really just gaslit me, like, and so it's yeah, they're just trying to make you doubt your reality, question your own logical judgment, so that way
Mm-hmm.
eventually you will not leave them, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
That's why they do
And
that.
can we go a bit into over time? Over
Mhm.
time, being in a relationship with a narcissist or with an abuser, and we have this, control playing. We have isolation coming in. We have gaslighting. We have love bombing. What does that do to the survivor or to the victim?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have, like, short-term and long-lasting effects for sure. I would say it definitely traumatizes them, for sure. I mean, I could say that that was me. I was traumatized, absolutely.
Yeah.
It definitely makes you not trust people, for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
It makes you have low self-esteem, makes you have low confidence. It
Mhm.
makes you stay in a place of, like, fear, guilt, obligation. That's a lot of that abuse does that to a victim.
Mhm.
And it makes you just wanna stay stuck and stay stagnant and just shrink yourself so that way you can make the narcissist happy because a lot of the times the narcissist, again, they're all about control, competition, and power, and
Mhm.
if they see you, then they may see you as a threat. Doesn't matter, it could be romantic, it might be a parent, it could be an in-law, it could be a
Mhm.
boss. But
Mhm.
they're all about control and they want you to stay down. They're trying to break you, essentially. They wanna break
Mhm.
your spirit, they
There
wanna
you go.
kill yeah, they wanna break your spirit and they wanna kill your
Exactly
dreams.
what I
So
say. I'm like, I wanna break your spirit, like, because it's like it's. I know that if I say this, sometimes people will be like, "Oh, you're over spiritualizing everything," but I seriously think that narcissism and narcissists are demon controlled.
no, they are.
Seriously.
No, that's it. That's all that it is. I've come to that relation too. I'm like, especially the most recent narcissist that I dealt with at the job environment that I was at. That
Mhm.
I could see and look at that person. I was like, oh yeah, that's a demon right there. I was familiar because of, my experience living with my auntie. So I was like, oh, okay, I see she's a narcissist. Okay, got it. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much. Because yeah, sometimes because of being in the mental health space, and of course, psychology has words for this. But when you now also add spirituality in it, you can actually see some aspects, and you're like, this is not just psychology. And for me, actually, I remember one time just saying that people say that there's no cure for narcissism and narcissists. Is that true from your experience?
If there's a cure? Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, this is just me saying it now. I don't know. It could change. It could change in the future. I don't know. But just based off of what my life experience has been and dealing with narcissists since 2006, I
Mm-hmm.
have never seen a narcissist change now, or if there's a cure, sorry. I haven't really seen a cure. Now, people have been like, oh, well, narcissists can go to therapy, they can take medication, and
What if they take Jesus?
If they take Jesus, if they take God, but you got to remember too, the narcissist sees themselves as a god. So like they feel like everyone is
Mhm.
beneath them. They look down on people. That's the other aspect. And also the other sign, you're dealing with a narcissist is they never take accountability for anything that they ever done. Even if they
There you go.
harmed you, yeah, if they harmed you or they aggrieved you, they'll hold a grudge against something that they've
Against
done
you.
to you.
Yeah. They'll be
Yeah.
like, why did you react to it?
Yeah. It's like, "Wait, I'm the victim here, like, you harmed me," but they will that's another sign because us normal people can like you said, we can assess things and be like, "Okay, why
Mm-hmm.
did I get myself in this situation? Let's look at it," not judging ourselves, but we wanna do
Mm-hmm.
better. We wanna have a better relationship, a better experience next time, so we don't keep repeating the same behavior patterns, right? Yeah, the same mistakes. So we wanna learn from those mistakes. So that's why, okay, we do the inner work, we go within, and we work on ourselves, right? But with a narcissist,
Literally just coming through the screen and giving you a big hug.
yay!
Thank you so much for saying
No
that,
problem.
because that is a pattern that I think clearly draws the line between a narcissist and a person who's not. Because you'll find that, like you say, after everything is said and done, you'll be here. The survivor is here. Oh, what can I do better? I don't want my next relationship to be like that, blah, 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 blah. And the narcissist, it's like nothing happened.
Exactly. That's the big sign right there. There you go.
And they even go, I've noticed this a lot. They go on a huge smear campaign, like you
Yeah.
mentioned, and try
Yes.
and recruit people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That in itself, if not anything, to all my listeners, if you do not get anything, get that from this conversation. Because if you're in any form of a relationship with a person and this is what they do, just know you're
Mhm.
dealing with it now. And
Yeah.
in one moment, in the opposite direction. But what?
Yeah, and I've actually been a victim of the smear campaign twice. Once by my auntie, and then the second one was by a female narcissist that I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's crazy to me? Like these people are so good at what they do it because they haven't just done this to you. Just
Mm-hmm.
understand that they've done this to a lot of other
Of
people. So that's
people.
why they're
Yes.
good at, the manipulation. They'll lie,
Mm-hmm.
they'll cheat, they'll steal. Like it's crazy. And people actually believe them. Like if they
People
say
believe.
like you've done something to them and this is the reason why they're talking trash on you,
Uh-huh.
the other people won't even come up to you, they won't even question. They just believe the narcissist, which I think is crazy. It's so
True.
crazy.
True. And I'm gonna go into an area that you mentioned previously. You mentioned about your aunt who's like a relative, family, right? And so I want us to go a bit because most of the information we have out here, as women are talking out, is mostly in relationship settings. But I
Mhm.
want us to go into narcissistic abuse in our families where we come from our
Yes.
parents, from our siblings,
Mhm.
from cousins and uncles.
Yeah.
And how does that look like? Is it that you are predisposed to it, maybe? Or are the underlying factors the same? Still the self-love, the doubt and the negative talk, is that still an underlying factor?
Yeah, that's affects you. Like if you have grown up in a narcissistic household like I have for about 5 years, yes, it has a
Mm-hmm.
huge impact. I think it also could make you a victim to be groomed for another narcissist. Like the way that the narcissist trains you, like I said, they put you down, they don't
Mm-hmm.
allow you to feel your feelings. They say like what you say is not important. I
Mm-hmm.
remember, like, with my auntie, she never, like, allowed me to express my emotions. Whenever I would come to her with new ideas, she'd be like, "No, don't do it, don't do it." And when
Mm-hmm.
I would, just I remember I was 19 at the time, and I was telling her about this little, like, party I wanted to go to. My aunt was like, "Oh, no, like, don't go. You're still young." And I'm thinking like, "Do you want me to be under you 24/7? Is that what's going
Mm-hmm.
on?"
Mm-hmm.
And also I remember when I was trying to move out, like you try to get up and do your own thing, right? And
Do
my
something for
auntie's
you.
exactly. My auntie's like, "Oh no, you're gonna have to pay your own phone bill. You're gonna have to pay your own rent." You know what I'm saying? So they use that fear and that guilt and that obligation to control their adult children. And some adult children, they fall victim to that. They're like, "Oh, yes, auntie, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stay underneath you." And it's just like, no, have your own mind, think for yourself, and realize what's happening. This is abuse. Oh, and
Mm-hmm.
then the other thing, I remember the whole triangulation where my auntie would pin her sons against me. Like, I remember it was my auntie's birthday. Yeah, it was my auntie's
Mm-hmm.
birthday, and she was big on getting drunk. Well, not drunk, but like tipsy. And we would go
Okay.
out to restaurants a lot. And I remember one time we're just all sitting down at the restaurant, we're eating and stuff. And she was like, Joy, she was like, where's your muscles? She was going like this to me because her son,
Uh-huh.
he was like really tall. I'm like, wait, hold on. For one, I'm 5'7" and I weigh like 160 or so. And your son
Mm-hmm.
is like 5 and weighing like, however many pounds, 300 pounds or whatever. And she's
Mm-hmm.
looking because he was working out at the gym and stuff like that. And then she's like, looking at his muscles and then turns around and looks at me. She's like, Joy, where's your muscles? I'm like, why are you asking me that? Who cares? Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they'll
Mm-hmm.
try to like, put the one sibling against the other or one relative against the other to try to like make them fight. Yeah, like it's
Wow.
very weird like that.
You were doing the Lord's work today, Joy. You were literally doing the Lord's work. I really love that you say that because they bring this negative dynamic in the family. And then you, as the survivor or the victim at the time, you're left trying to defend yourself. You're left trying to remember the gaslighting has happened as well. So you're also
Yes.
trying to center yourself into no, 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 no.
Yeah.
This actually happened like this,
Exactly.
you know? Wow.
Yes,
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that and for sharing your
definitely.
story as well, because I know that it's not easy.
Definitely
to
not.
be vulnerable. And before I go on to another thing, I want to ask you. So because now you stood up against it, and this is family, what was the backlash?
Yeah, good question. No, it was a huge backlash because narcissists do not like it when you stand
Mm-hmm,
up for yourself. They don't like it when you call them out, and they don't like it when you expose them. So the backlash was, people just looking at me crazy, people
mm-hmm,
thinking that I'm insane, or people thinking like, "Oh, she's ungrateful. She didn't appreciate what you did." Like I'm like,
mm-hmm,
"Excuse me?"
mm-hmm. I
You
know.
know, and people like, I guess, distancing themselves from me because essentially what a narcissist will do, especially in family dynamics, is they will make you choose a side. So they'll be like, either you're gonna, yeah, right? So they're gonna make you choose. So the narcissist is like, either you're gonna be on my side or you're gonna be on her side. So what I seen, some people had blocked me or they deleted me as a friend on Facebook, or they would no
Mm-hmm,
longer respond to my messages on Facebook, or just like I said, just their view of me was negative due to the smear campaigns, due to
mm-hmm.
me standing up for myself. And I'll never forget the last time that I see my auntie. We had an argument because she
Okay.
was so adamant on, controlling me and getting me to live my life in a certain way. And I said, I appreciate what you're saying. I thank you for your suggestions, but I can't do what you're asking me. And I thank you for everything you've done. But I'm
Mm-hmm,
sorry, like I have to follow like what God is telling me to do.
mm-hmm,
And narcissists don't like rejection for one. They don't respect boundaries too.
mm-hmm.
And they want it their way. And so yeah, we got into an argument. She raised her voice and she cursed at me, and I stood there. I'm like, okay. And mind you,
Mm-hmm.
she's like 5'10", super tall, and like I said, I'm 5'7" or whatever. But mind you, we're in the car when we're arguing. We're in the car
Okay.
arguing. And eventually I just say, "Hey, take me home. I'm just not going to do this." And
Mm-hmm.
she didn't like it, but we haven't been in contact ever since. And this
Wow.
was, I think it was like the end of 2014 going into 2015, and we haven't spoken ever since.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's quite unfortunate, but the truth of the matter is that this happens, even like you've shared, in family situations as well. And so, in as much as we are looking out on the romantic aspect, it's also important that we look inside our families, because there's
Inside.
something you said there that was very powerful, that sometimes we are groomed inside our families in preparation for the next,
For the next,
right?
yeah. Or
Yeah.
like you're groomed to be a people pleaser or a
Mm-hmm.
pushover, or, just a person you accept anything, or you're numb to the abuse, or you normalize the abuse. You're like, "Oh, that's
Uh,
normal." It's like, "No, it's not." So,
yeah. Thank you so much. And
definitely.
in your from your experience, what do you think is the reason why it's so hard to leave, even when you know clearly there's something wrong in the situation?
Yeah, I feel like, kind of like what I mentioned. Yeah, just we normalize abuse, or sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we're comfortable with things that may not be the best. We settle for less, we settle for less. So sometimes we may not know our worth, right? We don't know our value. We don't love ourselves fully. Sometimes we don't know what real love looks like. Sometimes we're afraid to start over. We're afraid of the
Mm-hmm.
unknown. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust the situation. We don't trust other people. And we just feel like we're not good enough just because, like I said, the abuse that we've already experienced, we kind of take that on. What another thing I want to do a video on this, Judy, is
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, let's say we've gotten free of the abuse. It's almost like sometimes we're abusing ourselves to a certain degree. I know it's like weird, right? But like we kind of continue what the narcissist has, because it's like we get programmed to,
Mm-hmm.
like, we've been programmed for abuse and we've experienced it. And so now it's like we can't seem to turn it off unless, we get that support, right, that we need. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like the therapy or the coaching, counseling, whatever the case may be. But
Mm-hmm.
we kind of begin to abuse ourselves. And then other times we just numb it. We try to like distract ourselves, with other things, with work, other
Mm-hmm.
relationships, or being busy all the time, or kids, who knows. So it's a lot that
Can I challenge something
go
here?
ahead. Yes.
Can we say that sometimes being in an abusive relationship can turn you into an abuser yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Yes. And I would say unless you do your inner work because sometimes, like I said, if you've been a victim of abuse and if you don't do any healing work, yeah, you'll become an abuser because you're like, well, I'm putting up a wall and anybody that gets close to me, I'm going to push them away. I'm going to shut them
Mm-hmm.
down because of what happened to me. So yeah, absolutely that can happen to people.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like you say, there's many fallout videos that I'm notting out because
Yeah.
it's really difficult to explore each and every aspects, like explore it effectively in the time that we have. But I'm really happy that you're bringing these things to the front because there's that thing that now you realize you've been in an abusive relationship for a very long time. And then you start to notice, wait, I'm also abusing. And I know this happened to me. Yes, I
Mhm.
noticed that
Yeah.
this actually happened to me. I lost a very good friend who had been a friend for a very long time pre the abuse. And there was something we were going off on. And they just say to me, listen, you're abusive.
Mm.
And I was like,
Oh.
you know,
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm
Mhm.
not. I'm actually doing, I had already started by then doing and having interest in mental health and advocacy. And so I was like, no, I'm actually doing this. But then they said, I don't want to deal with you anymore
Mm.
because this is what I'm getting from you. And I was like, okay, I actually apologize and I let it go. But now that you say today, it actually brings some of the things that I've had from my close friends because I've had here and there, here and there. And I'm really surprised that how you can go from that thing that you don't like to now becoming that thing. Is it a psychological thing?
Say, yeah, and then there's a lot of resentment that comes into play. Sometimes we're very resentful and we get very angry and we're frustrated and we want other people to feel our pain, right?
Uh-huh,
You know
uh-huh.
what I'm saying?
True, true.
And
Yeah, yeah. Because you've been gaslit, the smear
yeah.
campaign, nobody believes you. People have
Mhm.
joined, and these narcissists are so good.
They're
People have
good.
joined.
They're
Yeah,
very good.
they're
Trust
very
me.
good. What is that dynamic that the narcissist will always be like super, super good? And then the survivor would just be down here, literally trying to say, guys, it's not like that. You know, you
Mhm.
guys should know me better, blah, blah, blah. What is that dynamic?
Well, the male narc that I dealt with, I remember a couple times when I would go and visit his house, he had this big like bookcase or case or whatever, and it was full of
Okay.
books.
Okay.
So in my opinion, I think he was pretty intelligent. He was very intelligent. He actually had several businesses, and really lived in a nice area. So I think they take like a lot of the knowledge and they misuse it and they abuse it. Of course, they abuse their power
Oh,
and authority. Yeah. So a lot of them are very smart. I have to give them that.
huh.
But with us, since we don't know what's going on, I didn't know. I'm like, what's
Mm-hmm.
happening? I
Mm-hmm.
had to
Mm-hmm.
do my research. I had to watch videos. So yeah, it's like we don't know what we don't know. And we've become a victim of the circumstance of the situation and we want to lash out. We want people to feel our pain because sometimes we can't take it out on the narcissist per se. So sometimes unknowingly you take it out on other people around you and then they will tell you. They'll be honest with you and tell you. So now you have to really begin the healing process because you don't want people to think that you're that way when you're really not. You've just
When
been
you're really not.
victimized.
There
You know
you
what I'm
go. There
saying?
you go. Thank
So
you so much. Thank you so much for
no
validating me
problem.
personally. Thank you so
No
much because
worries.
yeah, it's something that really had me as a person because
Yeah.
I'm like not even like that. I do not even want to portray myself like that, and it's very painful to actually see or to hear that your friends or your people that you care about are receiving you like that, and I think this was one of it didn't ring a very big bell, but it was one of the things that stood out to me now as I was on my healing and recovery journey.
Yeah.
But before we go to healing, I want us to speak about when the survivor or the victim decides that, okay, I've seen what's going on. I've seen the signs. I've been here. I know what's going on. I want to leave. and you now decide, I'm going to put in things in place, we're going.
Mhm.
Why is that literally the most dangerous time for us?
Yeah, because at this point, you're taking back your power,
Okay.
and the narcissist doesn't have it anymore. And again,
Mm-hmm.
as I said, the narcissist is all about power, control, and competition. And so
Mm-hmm.
the narcissist is going to try to fight you for that control, And so what I would advise folks is like, don't tell the narcissist your plans, please.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Don't tell them because they're going to try to sabotage you,
Hey,
right? They're going
good.
to try to ruin you. They're going to try to yeah, your best bet is just keep it on a hush. Do not tell the narcissist what you're doing and just do the best you can. I would say escape because you kind of do have to escape them. I mean, because they want to have control over you for the rest of your life and it's just
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter the situation. Like I said, if it's romantic, if it's your parents, if it's in-laws,
Mm-hmm.
if it's coworker situation, your boss, it could be a neighbor, it might be your
Mm-hmm.
landlord,
Mm-hmm.
it could be someone in the church environment as well. But yeah, that I would say it's very dangerous. And also because in the victim's mind, they are so used to having the narcissist there. The
Mm-hmm.
narcissist is everything to that victim. And so
Mm-hmm.
now they are breaking free. And now they're like, okay, how do I survive now? How do I
Mm-hmm.
live? What do I do? Where do I go? How do I make these decisions?
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
that can be kind of frightening for a lot of people. And I guess the biggest thing is, reaching out for support, the right people, because I've made the mistakes in the past where I reached out to individuals and it wasn't the best idea and it kind of made it worse. So you have to be very careful.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And when it comes to somebody like literally now like jumping up and deciding,
Yeah.
can you say it's a moment that just happens and
Mhm.
okay, now I know, or is it something gradual?
Say for some, it could be both depending on the person. For me, I think it was just kinda gradual because I didn't like I said, I didn't know what I was dealing with, but once I
Mm-hmm.
kinda, figured it out, unfortunately, I was already no contact with the both of the narcissists, but for a lot of people, I would say it's a gradual situation, and then others, it's
Okay.
just it hits them, like, overnight or something, or they just have a dream and they're like, "Oh crap, I need to make this decision," So I think it just
Mm-hmm.
depends on the person and the situation and the severity
Okay.
of it. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thanks so much. Um, and what's the most heartbreaking thing you've had from a survivor?
The most heartbreaking from a survivor, I guess they just cry over the phone and it happens quite a bit unfortunately, and it's just sad. It's just sad and it's like a lot of the narcissist knows this. It's like they get happy when, the victim cries. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very sad. But yeah, I would say for me when I'm talking to clients, it's when they're crying about the situation. It's heartbreaking for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because I think, or from a personal experience, I think I would cry mostly from like grieving
Yeah,
me, grieving myself,
exactly.
grieving how I lost sight of myself,
Mhm.
how I even, the one that really goes like, how did I get here? I just
Yeah.
cried.
That's it for you. That's it. Like,
I
yeah.
cried. And I had a crying season actually
Mm.
where I just allowed myself to feel.
Yeah.
I allowed myself to grieve myself. I allowed myself to grieve some good relationships that I've lost, like the friend that I've told you. I allowed myself to grieve the fact that these people, whoever they are, which most of the time is really just rubbish people anyway, you know,
Yeah.
how they took that godlike complex and
Mhm.
try to dictate my life, you know. And there's a beautiful thing that came out of that crying season is that I finally was able to get my voice.
Yeah.
Even though in the beginning it was very small, but I remember the first time, like it's like rediscovering yourself. You're like, hey, wait, who's that? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Definitely.
From your experience as a narcissist abuse recovery coach, what is one truth about narcissistic abuse that you think most people don't want to accept?
That's a good question. Maybe they already seen the signs and they ignored it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like their intuition was telling them, and I'm only saying that because that was me.
Uh-huh.
I only speak from experience, but I would say that most people knew like, okay, yeah, it's time to go, and they stay longer than what they're supposed
Mm-hmm.
to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. Just like overstaying and not listening to your intuition because it costs that victim at the end of the day. It costs them their peace, it costs them trauma, pain, stress, anxiety, all sorts of things. It costs them later on in the end.
True. When does someone start after leaving? Like, where do you even go?
Right. Yeah. It's tough. Like I said, if I would have knew what I was dealing with, it would have
Mm-hmm.
made life so much easier. I don't even know if I would have even thought of like researching the word narcissist if I hadn't, been in living in that
Like,
experience.
been
And
through it, right?
yeah, exactly. I don't even
Uh-huh.
think I would, honestly. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tough, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I wouldn't wish narcissistic abuse on anyone, even like my worst
Mm-hmm.
enemy, even though they probably would deserve it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like it's only God can really help an individual do something like this, and not
Mm-hmm.
even being religious because I'm not a religious person, I'm spiritual. But
Mm-hmm.
God was really the key to like the biggest step on my recovery journey for sure. Like my relationship with him and just drawing near and talking to him every day. And even I cried too. There was like 6 months straight I cried. I would wake up and I'd cry. And it was good. It was
Mm-hmm.
healing for me. So it helped me
Mm-hmm.
get through a lot.
Well, I am so happy you actually brought God into this, because my thing is therapy helps, right? But I don't know, it always seems like sometimes therapy itself is not able to truly put you together
Mhm.
after you've undergone narcissistic abuse. And we've also spoken about the fact that narcissism in itself is like demonic, even
But yeah.
though like science will not acknowledge it, but it is actually demonic.
But yeah.
So would you advise, say, because of course our listeners are across the table, right? We not necessarily Christians like myself.
Mhm.
How would you advise somebody, a survivor who's living a narcissistic relationship, how would you advise them to center God in their healing process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like what I did, for one, I didn't read the Bible as much. I wish I would have.
Okay.
But I started watching like prophetic words on YouTube. So you can type in like
Uh-huh.
prophetic words and just kind of like, see what resonates for you.
Mm-hmm.
I started just speaking out loud to God and saying, "Hey God,
Mm.
like for one, I questioned God. I'm like, God, why did I go through this? It was hurtful. What's up?"
Exactly. Where were you? God,
Yeah.
where were you?
But then later on, God revealed to me that it was a reason why I went through this because He wanted me to help other people. Like
Wow.
basically,
There
my
you go.
pain wasn't in vain, pretty much.
There
So
you
I
go.
was like, "All right, God, I got you." But so just talking to God, like how you and I talk, I just say, "Hey, God, this is how I'm feeling today. This is what I think." I would journal a lot too. I would like write little like letters to God as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? I would pray. I would have like my little prayers that I would do. And what I've been learning too as of recently, there's certain scriptures in the Bible that are specific to our situation. So let's say you're dealing with grief
Mm-hmm.
or loss or healing,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
can
Mm-hmm.
go, but you have to do the research and see where
Yes.
exactly God has helped people from, back in those days, like people like David and,
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, like way, way, way back, right? How he's helped, those individuals overcome their struggles, right? Or their different challenges that they were dealing with. And he helped them to overcome it and make it through. But it's was
Mm-hmm.
specific scriptures that you can read and you can hold on to that can kind of help you
Mm-hmm.
because it's like God is always close to the brokenhearted. God
Mhm.
never leaves us, God never forsakes us. God says, vengeance is mine. So you never like if people hurt you, they mistreat you, you don't have
Mm.
to, get them back, or you don't have to do none of that. You allow God to fight
Mhm.
your battles, right? So once I started to get familiarized with the word, which I do recommend now if a person is listening, yeah, try to read the Bible, but also
Mhm.
do the research to see whatever, like if you're wanting more healing, look it up and see how God
Mhm.
will heal you. He will.
Mhm.
And if you want to
Amen.
go to church, you can. I mean, I even
Amen, sis.
that's it.
Amen.
So it's good. If you want to go to church, that's fine. For
Mhm.
me, I experienced a lot of church hurt, so I'm still recovering from that myself.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't allow that to stop me from getting close to God. I
God.
reached out to God. He says, "Draw near to me, I'll draw near to you." And
Mhm.
he wants us to be close to him because he loves us very much. Sometimes we go through these situations because he's trying to get us to get close to him, because God is jealous God. Like, he doesn't want
Mhm.
you to put anybody before him. Like, he wants
Mhm.
him to be number 1 in your life, like, over
Mhm.
anyone. I didn't realize that. And so
Mhm.
once I started making God the forefront of everything, things started to change. Not saying it was easier, but it made it possible, and it gave me peace, and it gave me hope for a better future.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I could let a lot of those traumas go. I could practice self-forgiveness, empathy for myself, like I said,
Mhm.
compassion, and things like that. So yeah.
That's powerful. That is so powerful because I think so. Man, or as a human being, we are in three forms, right? So there's the body, then we have the soul or the mind, then we have the spirit. And when we started, we say that the narcissist tries to break your spirit, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And so just like food is for the body,
Mhm.
therapy is for the soul or the
Mhm.
mind,
Mhm.
and the word of God or God is for your spirit.
Yes, absolutely. So if you got God,
Hallelujah.
there's no way that the narcissist can break you, because God
There
is
you go.
powerful than anyone.
There you go. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. That is
Hallelujah.
intentional. Okay, Joy. What is one thing, just one, that someone who's listening today can do as a today if they're in this situation?
Would say if you're recognizing it, if you can leave, I would say, okay, just try to leave if possible. If you
Mm-hmm.
can't, let's say you have to plan it out, just try to distance yourself. Give yourself space from that person. Maybe you might want to maybe just be away from them, or don't call them as much, don't text them, don't respond.
Mm-hmm.
You have to block your them out of your mind. You have to maybe get rid of them off of social media. You might have to delete some photos. You might have to just erase them from your memories. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
kind of go ghost. You might have to ghost,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the biggest things that I could say, but you have to realize and understand what you're dealing with. Even if it's a
There you go.
baby step. Let's say you're not even ready to do none of that. Let's say you're like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Joy, like, I gotta start super, super small." Because I have people that
Mm-hmm.
I work with, and you gotta take little, little baby steps. Just
Mm-hmm.
recognize and say, "Hey, this is an abuser, and I have to
Mm-hmm.
do something about it." It could be something as small as, like, acknowledging what the situation
Mm-hmm.
is, and acknowledging what the role you have been playing, and say, "Hey, I need to get some help." And reach out to
Okay.
someone.
Okay. I hear you. So we're going to go into a very quick rapid fire session, and I'll just say something and you'll say what comes off the top of your mind. Okay. So something simple like, today is, and you'll be like, today is Saturday, right?
Mhm.
Get the drift?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. So gaslighting feels like,
Evilness.
great. Love bombing is,
Fake.
healing starts when,
You go within.
let me sit with that for a
Mhm.
moment. A red flag that most people ignore is,
Love. I would say, yeah, gaslighting. Yeah.
and lastly, joy is.
Love.
Thank you so much.
I like that. That's
Thank you so
beautiful.
much.
No
Yeah,
problem. Thank you for having me. It was truly a pleasure, Judy. I appreciate it.
me too. Thank you so much for coming. One last parting shot. If somebody is listening right now and they're losing themselves, what would you say to them if they were sitting right in front of you right now?
Just say it's normal if you feel like you're losing yourself, but just understand you can find yourself now. That if you feel lost, it's normal. Just take it one day at a time. You're not the only one that feels lost after narcissistic abuse. I felt that way. You just have to you have to start small, and you have to start somewhere, and you have to make a decision to stay away from individuals or people, places, and things that don't love you, that don't value you, and that don't respect you.
Enough said. Guys, thank you so much for listening. You're not crazy. You're not
You're
broken.
not.
You're not
Yes.
alone.
You're not.
Thank
You're
you
not
so
alone.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
yeah.
you so much, Joy. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming in.
you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
big
It was a
a big
pleasure.
big hug all the way from here.
Hug.
Yeah.
Oh.